Om Guru Brahma Guru
And
Vishnu
it's
Guru
time.
Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Well, welcome. We are going to work out how and where to post this.
Hello.
So it is just Rajni and I tonight. And I think it's a great thing for us to be consistent and showing up. It's very easy to get disheartened in challenging times. And so the company we keep plays a very important part in who we become and where we end up. And here we're making the intention to keep company with our soul. And that's what the meditation is. The first company that we keep is with our innermost self. And so that choice, that conscious choice of where to invest and spend our time, is essential if we want to live a life where we have more sense of inner freedom and less sense of suffering and bondage. So, you know, the default setting can be to be making decisions around where we invest our time based on unconscious energies, you know, entrapments that reinforce themselves and perpetuate our suffering. So the Himalayan meditation practice is like a pattern interrupt or a moment of disjunction between you and the rest of the day, from following those desires that lead us here, there, and everywhere. And it's reasserting your time with yourself. So as a consequence, that what it presents you in those moments can be confronting and overwhelming. And it's difficult to like your own company. It's very easy to be drawn outward in through the senses and through the energies of the world to distract us from our deeper self. And so the first company is learning to appreciate one as they are. And I believe that this is where the Hatha Yoga helps you learn to appreciate the body as it is, rather than unconsciously jamming it full of substances to avoid maybe difficult emotions. And then the Himalayan meditation gives you space to witness the mind in all of its insanity and hopefully abide in something deeper. And as I've learned to be friends with myself over the years, the primary sense of identification, the me, the deeper essence of me, is less fixated upon the yearnings and the cravings of the body and the mind, and is more deeply rooted in that abiding self. And as a consequence, I'm better company. Like I'm a better companion for my body and my mind. Like I'm a much more welcome guest inside of the body-mind apparatus. And so there's less tension between the soul's want and wish and maybe the body and mind's desires, which are on another level unconscious layers of the soul itself who perpetuate suffering. I mean, you know, it's the image of the light coming through the prism, that all of those lower manifestations of colors come from that unitary white light. So those energies that distract us are no less God, they're no less the soul, but their nature is to shine all of those colors. And yet true unity is in the totality of all of those colors, which can only be apprehended or experienced from the soul. And so maybe Rajni, you can speak to the importance of the collective energy and the collective meditation aspect of the Himalayan meditation practice, and maybe how that gives or builds upon the inner basis of keeping good company with oneself. That's like the next step out.
And it's not only about becoming a loner and just isolate yourself from everyone. What it does to you is it makes you aware side, and you're good with yourself. You become more aware of where you want to spend your energy, who you want to spend your energy with, and on what. And I think it took me some time to realize that, but I remember becoming very sensitive, not to the point where I can't go shopping anymore, but just aware of the company I kept and what it brought to me, or how it made me feel is how I should express it, how it made me feel. And I love to see how I see a constant thing happening with my relationship with people, and there are some people I love and I respect them so much with strength and with all my love, because I can see the constant feelings that is happening. So the connection is here, and I have experienced in some people's presence feeling drained, for example, after a few texts, feeling not anymore. And with time, and sometimes with years, I realized that some people didn't make me feel so good in the end. And I realized I was becoming a bit of a dumping ground. And the only reason why I could feel that is I gave myself the time to be alone and to have my space, and having my understand what it was for me to love myself and have that space, a balanced state, help me understand my connection with other people. So it starts inside, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, the really interesting thing I think that you shared there is that you were aware of how you felt around other people, right? And that's the introversive state that Swamiji talks about. It's not, who is this person? What is their story? I don't like them because they're a draining person. No, it's about noticing one's own feeling in the proximity of those people. Now, to the outward appearance, that person might be radiant and beautiful, and they might have all of the trappings of success or doing well in life. But if you feel not great around them, that's a good indication that maybe your company ought not be spent around that person. Now, if being in the proximity of that person lifts you up and takes you higher inside of yourself, then like that's an indication of like, yeah, this is worthwhile, right? And so I learned that when I met you, and we that you were the first person that I ceased to objectify in any kind of conscious manner. Like I became aware that that's how I predominantly looked at the world to other people. I objectified them. I didn't actually notice how I felt around other people. So if I was evaluating a woman, I would be judging her on appearances, intellect, humor, all of these external criteria that I would lay onto these objective qualities of that person. Whereas what happened with you was I began to be aware of just feeling good around you. And so that is a really nice gateway. Like, so when you're able to discern how you feel around other people, you can then begin to make conscious choice around who you engage with, you know, where you choose to spend that precious commodity of your awareness. And so, you know, when Swamiji in India, you know, I believe there's a little bit of lost in translation with what he shares regarding the Himalayan meditation practice. He says that there's a collective of energies behind that practice, because those energies are, say, all of the positive intention or the attention from many thousands of people onto that focal point of the Sadguru, means that they are they're a medium for a much bigger. They're a gateway. They're like the aperture in the dam wall that whole ocean or the whole lake of the dam can kind of pour out into one single river. And if you follow that even further upstream, it's not just that particular penance from that guru, but it's the things that have been bestowed to them through the traditions to which they belong, and through the Shaktipat or the offering from other gurus to them. They then become a custodian for that much larger volume of consciousness. And so in that sense, you know, finding a collective of energies is a different thing. So that's keeping company with the correct energies. And then there's obviously, you know, keeping company with right people. Now, every person has good and bad inside of them. Some people are predominantly gripped by negative energies inside of them. And so, you know, the effect that those negative people can have on you is not great. Now, when many people gather together around a negative energy, there is a collective of negative energies that builds around it. And that's that kind of phenomenon, the group or mob mentality, where people start rioting in the streets and looting and going nuts, and everyone's just getting into this big frenzy. And so you have that on the when people are captured by a negative collective energy. It's like a vortex that sucks people down. And similarly, when you've got other embodiments of not just the collective energies of the guru energies, but the collective of people in service of higher energies, you can then build the Sistine Chapel, or you can, you know, like you can realize these massive positive endeavors, you know, based out of that shared drive, that shared focal point. So my experience on the path has been that, like, when I was very unconscious, there was a lot of good and bad all mixed in together. And as I persisted with the meditation, it was really kind of nasty. But then what's happening is that, like, on the way towards God, on the way towards something higher, I'm naturally finding myself associated with far less people, but I'm surrounded by energies that are, or I'm allowing myself to be surrounded by energies that are positive and that lift me up. But the painful part of the meditation is that at first you realize you're stuck, and it can feel horrible as you're disentangling. You've kind of you've lit this little candle, and you're trying to keep yourself illuminated, and it's the wind's blowing, and you've got to shield the little candle here. I've even got a prop. Aha. So you've got the little candle, and you're trying to keep the candle protected through and you can't really see because you're shielding it, and then you're blocking your light, and you don't know where you're going. But then all of a sudden you meet other people with a little candle as well. And then a large number of people gather with that candle, and suddenly you're able to see a much greater vantage point through the night, and you feel that luminosity of others show you and lift you up. And so, for us being on, being together and on the same path, that the co-illumination effect of the company we keep, like, I wouldn't be able to have the level of self-insight if it wasn't for your brightness. And I hope I bring you the same. It's like, as I take myself up, it kind of helps you illuminate your life.
Oh, completely. There are moments where I'm struggling, and I will reach out to you because you're my little lamp at that moment, and I'm looking up. And even if my mind will say no, but, and I will try to just push away whatever you say to me, you become my lamp at that moment. You're the light at that moment, and that's why I reach out to you. And what I wanted to add is the same way we become aware of our company, you also become aware of where you spend your time, what you're doing. So sitting on the sofa, things that I've done many times, and scrolling on social media and taking my awareness just everywhere, anywhere, doesn't make me feel good, because I've just diluted the energy I gained.
And
after meditation sometimes, or after sleep, you wake up fresh in the morning, and you take your mind for a ride just everywhere, and you realize, I didn't want to know all this. Because now it has an effect, and you become aware of that as well,
and so that like, that is company too. It's company, like, because the company, the issue that we've had in the last, in this current paradigm, is that, right, okay, we're talking here now. For most of human history, like 99.9999% of human history, if we had this conversation, no one else would ever be able to hear it. Now it's just you and me, but we're going to upload it later. So hey to anyone who's watching a recording of this. But now this conversation can live as long as the data for this lives. Now, in the past, that consciousness would still be imbued into the Akashic records. It would still be hovering as a vibration. No energy can be created or destroyed, right? Like, it's out there. It's been part of manifest universe, and it exists. And advanced yogis might be able to access that knowledge. With now, everybody with a smartphone can access this knowledge and go back in time to this present moment for us from the future. And that means that what we've done is that we can be in many places at once. So the person who's listening to this right now, me, hears it in the present moment. But it's no less the present moment for the person in the future who's listening to this. Now, this is power. This is power, because never before in human history have we had the capability to transcend ourselves so easily that every single adult in our society has pretty much, obviously there's exceptions, but most of us have the capability to alter the structure of reality and to put a video up on YouTube, and God knows how long it's going to last there.
Mhm.
Now, if Christ had his teachings on YouTube, would they be recognized today? Would it have blown up? Would he be viral? Or would he be shouted down and cancelled and censored for bucking against the trend? And so the company that we are keeping in this conversation, this might go on to amass 1 million views one day. Right now, it's being viewed twice. You and me are watching it at this moment. Okay. The company, those people are now company to this present moment.
Yeah.
Okay. And so because this is just us doing this, but everybody's doing this, whether you're taking a photo and putting it on social media, it's an invitation for people to be a part of your company, to keep your company. So what is it that what company are you offering?
Offering.
Where are you taking your nose? Are you taking your nose into the misery and suffering of others? Or are you sharing like a falsehood or a
Joy.
pretense or something that isn't authentically you? Or are you putting your truth naked before God, the best, the very best that you've got, in the hope that I don't care if another single soul listens to this? 2 weeks ago, I cracked the SADS and no one showed up. So I turned the video camera off and we had an early dinner. And I spun myself a story about how I was more morally justified in not putting something out there. Well, look, if I can't put something out there for me to hear it, for my wife to hear it, for maybe people in the future to gain some positive company for once in their week, God, like there's no shortage of messages out there that are telling people that you're not worthy, you're not fit enough, you don't look good enough, you haven't earned enough money, you've got no right to happiness. Oh, you need to do, 10,000 hours of meditation before you're going to be, before you will attain anything. And right here and now, what we're saying is you've got it inside of you. You're a soul, first and foremost. You're not this body, you're not your mind. Believe in yourself. Love God, like go beyond. It's like, well, I mean, what's the downside to that message? Is this just pie in the sky, fanciful, wishful thinking? It's like, no. For me, the ability to recapture a sense of faith through listening to other people who worship God, not just whilst they're talking, right? But people who are engaged in a habitual practice of offering towards the divine. When I listen to them, I feel something come through, and it's been instrumental in my life to witness people who have touched that faith inside of them. And it's bolstered me, it's brightened my day, it's pulled me back from the brink. Okay, so the company that I've kept has saved me from myself, but it also, if I'm not careful, I will seek out bad company that excuses my poor behavior, which I know is poor, right? As they say, misery loves company. It's easier if you are struggling to go into an echo chamber and find people who are also struggling, and to relish in the struggle and point the finger at someone else and go, you're the problem, and it's much, much, much more difficult to show up and sit down and recognize that even 30 minutes of silence and stillness with yourself is terrifying. Yeah. That is hard work, which is why it yields such a positive thing for most people who persist with it long enough to make it a part of their life, to just sit down once in a while and to let go and surrender. And it really does teach you to be okay with your company. For instance,
but also
You
Oh,
go.
go ahead.
You go.
I was going to say, but also it develops your feeling in such a way that you cannot avoid it anymore. How do you know who is right? How do you know what you should be doing? Well, it's simple. How do you feel? And if you're able to sit through that meditation, this is the biggest power you get. You learn to listen to that feeling. It's not anymore sound. It's not, busying your mind with something else to forget the real thing. It's the real thing here, and the acknowledgement of how you feel inside. And when you do that outside the meditation, it's the same deal. It is the same deal. And no matter how much you're gonna say, oh, but it's a group I like and they like me and blah blah blah. How do you feel? Who's been draining you in that group? Is there anything you wanted to change in that? You cannot avoid it anymore,
Well,
and that guides you.
and for many people, they're afraid because they think they're so disconnected, like I was, from my feelings, that they think that it's complex, that you need a word for your feelings. But the finger pointing at the moon is not the moon. The moon's up there, you just got to look at it, right? Like the words we use to describe our feelings are not the feelings. Feelings, for me, contrary to what the mind will have me, the thoughts are one thing. There is no end to the insanity and the infinite way that the mind can construct ideas around feelings. Feelings are either attraction, aversion, or neutrality. It is that simple. Am I being repelled? Am I being pulled closer? Or am I not even aware of anything? Right? It's so subtle, right? Because it's the one force undivided, but it's just operating in different directions. Okay. And it's like the waves, the peak and the trough are one. It's a division of mind to call one higher and lower. It's like the wave is one. Well, you're feeling the direction that is compelling you might be like that positive attraction, negative aversion, or completely neutral. And so don't go looking. If you're looking for practical ways of recognizing your feelings, it might just be or it might be like, oh, there's something here for me. I'm charmed by this, right? Now, what that practice will do to you, because we're working with the crown and we're working with the soul, if it's actually like a second chakra thing that is bringing you closer to that person, you will eventually meet your karma. And if you're making your decisions based out of desirous kind of attraction, you will manifest circumstances that tell you, hey, watch out for that energy. But if your attraction, well, I would actually say that the soul in those moments, if you're truly at the soul level, then there is neither attraction nor aversion, right? There is a sense of beautiful presence
Exactly.
and calmness, even if the thing that is manifest before you is gross and disgusting and you want to run away, like some part of you wants to run away. If there's some part of you that is joyous and peaceful and happy, even with something strange going on in front of you, then you're maybe operating from a deeper place of the soul. But in the process of learning to trust that and actually that might be great in the kind of broader meditational, like kind of esoteric inner way of being. But the goal wouldn't be to be, being trampled upon by someone and so beautifully equanimous, though it may well be the right thing to do. I find that if I'm able to attain that sense of stillness compassion emerges, but also like discernment. And so something that has come up for us, having other people in the space, we're renting our space to people who are running a retreat this weekend. It's the first time we've done that in a while. And it's like I can watch the parts of me that wants to get a little bit frustrated. And then when I do find that moment of equanimity and go, look, these are people here, they're not at home, they don't know what they're doing the best that they can. They're using our space. What's the deeper message in it? Maybe we don't want other people in our space. Okay, well, once I get that message, then I see that my future action is to avoid that company of too much kind of commercial arrangement, and to keep the company in the manner that we like to keep it. And so I'm not regretful, I'm not judgmental about the situation, but that little moment of coming back into neutrality is not making me act from my aversion. Now, if I was acting from my aversion, they might have done something that, you know, someone trespasses and walks in front of our house, and I'm like, I yell at that person. I go, we're never having anyone ever here ever again. Get out of here. You're trespassing. It's like that acting from the pushing away is only going to create more pain. And also, I really want them here. I know I want the next person. We want the next guest. We want them to come back. So it doesn't matter if they've walked over the boundary. It doesn't matter because we just want them back here. We want them back here. So acting from the attached place of wanting an outcome just creates more suffering. But if I'm able to just go, okay, boom, let me reset, let me find my center. It's like, yeah, this isn't so much in alignment, and I'm not holding any regrets or judgment, but it's like, yeah, in the future, I know what to do.
Yeah.
And so, like, for those of you that might be in a circumstance in your life where the immediate company around you, family, friends, work colleagues, we're not suggesting that you need to get uptight and, okay, I've noticed I've got aversion to this, so I'm just going to leave. What the meditation teaches is that you find your center, you don't engage with that energy, and then out of the emptiness, your insight will emerge. You will know intuitively, look, it's my time to move on from here, if you give yourself that space. And if you don't harbor any deep attachments or aversion or expectations upon how and where you should be in the world, right? If I was still deeply attached to being a sniper, I would never have met my wife nor had my daughter. I had to let go of that attachment and relegate that part of me into the past in order to bring myself up to where I am today. And similarly, what we share today is relevant and comes to us here tonight. Is it relevant to anyone else tomorrow, or in 1,000 years' time, or in 10,000 years' time? I don't know. My intuition, though, is that if I speak truth, insofar as I can hear it and feel it inside of me, it's relevant always. And we know this because we read stories from a saint 100 years ago, or from a rishi who heard the truth 10,000 years ago. We're still reading them and we're still learning from them, and those energies are still persisting. So in the face of the pain and the challenge and those forces that want to restrict you, the truth truly is eternal, and it is the stronger force. And taking yourself into proximity of people who are grappling with that truth is always a beneficial thing. Now, I like listening to a Catholic bishop, and I was the most anti-Catholic, hated Catholicism before I knew a single thing about it. Now, my yoga guru, some other people, do one thing, focus all your energy on this one tradition, focus this, focus this, focus this. But what I sense when I listen to Bishop Barron is He's convinced that Christ is his salvation. For him, this is truth, and he is grappling and sharing from that place of conviction. So more than it's more than the content of what he is saying. It is the place from which that comes, that it is infectious and it lifts me up. And I don't remember the technical details and what the different words mean, right? But the place that he is examining himself and sharing publicly is so truthful that I'm always better for having listened. And so maybe for each and every person who one day listens to this, at least me as I listen to this now, what a joy it is that we've got this technology that has the ability to take us into proximity with people who speak the truth. Sure, some people lie, cheat, manipulate, steal, try to game the system, right? It's not authentic. It's not of some higher essence. But also, wow, you can find those people who speak truth to you. And when you find yourself, even if that truth is hideous and ugly and painful, at least if it's the truth, it will lift you up eventually. And so I deeply pray that everybody who listens to this finds those people who share them truth. And I encourage you to be a medium for the truth, bit by bit, conversation by conversation, moment by moment. Don't fear judgment, and don't judge yourself most of all. Get that truth out and start letting it come through, and watch how it brings you into the proximity and the company of people who lift you up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You shall meditate.
Yeah.
It was a joy to join, and I hope everyone can meditate with us. Enjoy.
So for those of you that are new to the Himalayan meditation practice, you can take your right palm and place it on top of the head and gently press in 3 clockwise circles, keeping the attention on the top of the head and taking the hand back to the knee. So in the language of your choosing, whatever the language you speak to yourself, you're invited to join in sharing a small affirmation, and you can chant this 3 times internally. I am a holy soul. I'm a pure soul. I am a holy soul. I'm a pure soul. I am a holy soul. I am a pure soul.
Om Vyo Shanti Antariksha Gwam Shanti Prithvi Shanti Rapa Shanti Roshadaya Shanti Vanaspataya Shanti Vishve Deva Shanti Brahma Shanti Savagwam Shanti Shanti Reva Shanti Sama Shanti Redhi Om Shanti 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 Sarvarista Sushanti Bhavatu.